afternoon, everybody. Janis, many thanks also for the opportunity to share some of the insights, or actually more the upcoming parts of Active PCP. The project just started a few months ago, but I think it also will be a quite nice intro for the next discussion on the tables. My name is Bernhard. I'm head of security research of SYNYO, and together with CHEMEA and Hellenic Police, we have initiated the Active PCP proposal. CHEMEA is acting as lead procurer and public buyer on behalf of Hellenic Police. We also have the Fire and Rescue Service of the Ministry of the Interior of Lithuania, the City of Dortmund Fire Department, and the Cyprus Fire Service, including the Treasury of the Republic of Cyprus as partners. And last but not least, our great colleagues from Corvers, which also support us in all PCP-related activities. What is the project about? We're actually looking into addressing the critical shortcomings of PPE, of personal protective equipment. So during the preparation phase, we were screening currently where the biggest innovation gaps in the domain, and we saw and we heard back from the many end users that we work with, and also through the discussions that we had in CERIS, that especially personal protective equipment faces many issues. On top of that, as we also heard today, there are new emerging threats which are coming up. In many cases, also here, the CBRN-related issues play a crucial role. And when we see from man-made disasters to natural disasters, also here more and more threat vectors appear that has to be taken into account. And PPE is one crucial aspect on managing these kind of incidents. So as part of the PCP, the overall goal is to develop better all-hazard fabric solutions, to see also look into better real-time monitoring integrated in the PPE, as well as enhancing usability and comfort features. So especially here, we see a lot of issues, for instance, also for female staff, where often the existing PPE is not really well adapted. On top of that, we also look into innovating sustainable and low-maintenance materials, adaptive modular design, and multi-use and portability. And finally, of course, it's important that everything complies with the emerging standards and regulatory progress. So we were asked also to present a little bit more on how do PCPs work, and to give a little bit an insight on the actual process. So as you probably have recognized and heard in the previous slot, PCPs work differently from innovation action, research and innovation actions. So the actual partners in these projects not so to say, they're building up the requirements, but they're not building the solutions. The solutions are finally built by the industry, which means at this stage, together with our partners, we are in this very initial phase where we're building up the user requirements, where we're trying to understand where are the biggest issues, what can be improved, playing through different kind of scenarios to understand the main components. And with that information, we go into open market consultations, which means we also ask the industry, look, these are our requirements, these are our needs, what can you already fulfill, and what are the open gaps? And based on this logic, a call of tender is finally created, which asks to close this innovation gap. As we can see here next, after the call for tender, we will run into the first phase with most likely around 6 suppliers which made it to this phase, and they will have the opportunity to present to our end users their solution designs. So to better, based on the requirements, how well they address this, based on these requirements and these categories, they then will be rated. Finally, they will go to the next phase. to the prototyping phase. So, as I said, they will create the actual product to a certain extent, showcase how they will work, and there in an iterative process always will get feedback from the end users. And that's actually the great part of the PCP. The end users can very strongly have a say during the development of the products. And this finally, and we saw it in our previous PCP, the Uptake Security PCP, this co-creation process really finally leads, and this happens in the third phase, to a piloting where then the final two solutions are tested, are played through under kind of realistic situations, and based on these insights, the final project should be finally developed, which means also the suppliers get a lot of insights, first-hand insights from the end users. Very quickly, that will be our overall timeline. So we're currently in the phase of building the open market consultations. These will happen by the end of April, beginning of May. And around June, July, we will open the call for tenders. And then the first phase ideally will start around October. For the open market consultations, why are we doing this? So for us, of course, we do currently a screening of what is already there on the market. So we have a rather good overview. But of course, things developing fast, which means we also want to see what's happening really right now. And therefore, of course, it's always good to ask back the industry that they also have the opportunity to showcase what is already there. Because the overall approach for the PCP is also not to build up something which is already there, but really build up and focus on the innovation gaps, which means we currently have a state-of-the-art analysis, discussing this also with the partners, and then also reach out to the industry, present our overall requirements to them, and then also will ask for the feedback. So there will be a specific survey where we also ask for what kind of solutions you already have, what kind of requirements are already covered, and where you also think with this PCP you can go beyond what your current products currently deliver. Here's a short overview. So this is what's happening next. As I said, by the end of April, we have in our countries 4 online open market consultations, and finally also in Belgium at the beginning of May, an hybrid event where we also invite partners, end users and suppliers also to join us. And so I think you can check already the QR code, and the registration should already be open. For suppliers, I also brought a nice booklet, so whoever is working in this domain and might be interested also to build up a solution or team up with other industry players. Actually, that's happening quite often, that not individual organizations go into PCPs, but that you apply, as you do in a Horizon Europe project, that you apply together with other partners, forming a team to ideally reflect as many of the requirements in your proposal as possible. And of course, also we want to much stronger involve the end users, so those which are not part of our project, because we think, and there is also CERIS a really valuable event where we really see, get insights from other end user organizations, what is relevant for them. If you're interested in the PPE topic, and if you want to learn more about how PCPs work, please also feel free to check our platform, come up to me later, and join our observation board. So this will happen actually right now, that we build up also a board where people that are interested in the topic can follow us, and later on will also have the opportunity to join in the demonstrations. Yeah, so much about that. I kept it rather quick, but as a short and nice input for the next session. One last thing I want to say, whoever is more interested in how PCPs work directly, After our last project, the iProcure Security PCP, we built a guide where all our lessons learned are included, where we tried really to nail down what are the most important parts during the implementation of such a project. And I have 4 copies left, so whoever is interested, please feel free to drop by and yeah, let's have a chat later on. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much, Bernhard. We will put the report as well in the material that we'll share with you after the event, so you can all have it in digital format. Yeah, so now moving on a bit with the workshop per se that you heard us speaking about it the whole day. I will invite the 2 moderators on stage. My good colleague Stephan Corvers from Corvers, who is a CERIS expert in one of the expert group that we have in the Community for European Research and Innovation, and also Jozef Kubinec from the Ministry of Interior of Slovakia, to be on stage and to start with first a general presentation and then with the use case that will follow in the workshop. Please, both of you. Thank you.
Yes, well, first of all, thank you very much for the invitation. It's really appreciated. My name is Stephan Corvers, and I'm here together with my great colleague, Jozef Kubinec. And we work a lot together also in this kind of PCPs. You already heard about the beauty and the appealing of PCP by Yannis, so I'm not going to dive into that so much. But what is important is that we have been asked to we have a lot of handouts, a lot of presentations and presentation material, so you'll also receive it afterwards. So I'm not going to dive into all my sheets, but what is important also for our discussion today is that you understand the methodology behind it and that you understand why we have set up this workshop and also to understand the underlying rationale for that. I'm going to skip this. This is clear. You have seen the pictures. You already have seen the explanation about the TLs, which is extremely important to understand the maturity level of the solutions or the technology that are being developed. If you're interested to understand the difference between standard procurement and innovation procurement, here you see a mapping of all the differences. These are the barriers. We all have kind of discussion, for example, on the level playing field or not, and the conflict of interest situation and how to avoid it. But the main part is just a simple overview. What is the standard behavior of contracting authorities, public authorities, when it comes to innovation? Well, to do nothing and just wait and see what the market is going to develop. Of course, you can do that as a strategy, but that means that you have no say about the development of the functionalities, about understanding what if the needs and the functionalities that are being developed are really tackling your needs. And of course, you have no idea about the cost. So there are a lot of uncertainties that you can do, cannot do, and you want to avoid. That's why innovation procurement is so important. With innovation procurement, you have the possibility to steer the market developments and to speed up the market developments. Meaning that what is going to be developed from an R&D perspective is really tackling your need. And then, of course, one of the main important topics, what are your needs? And that's also one of the main discussions that we are going to have today. Well, about the PCP scheme again, what you see perhaps is interesting for you to know. You have the different phases, and it's about a competitive approach. Why do we have a competitive approach? Because it leads to the best result for us as contracting authorities, as procurers. And, of course, it also gives a possibility to technology vendors to be engaged in these kind of schemes. Not normal procurement one-on-one, but more like one-to-many. PCP is about the procurement of R&D services. It tackles normally somewhere around TL4, 5 up into TL8. If you talk about innovation partnership, that is not only about R&D, but also about deployment. That's also process and procedure that's been used by some countries, some member states, not all. But here we are talking about the PCP scheme. So the procurement of R&D, normally somewhere around between TL4, 5 and TL8. What is a methodology? And I think that's important for you to understand. This methodology has been developed also in close contact with the experts from the European Commission. It's called the EFIP methodology. You can download all the material from EFIP from the website from the European Commission, from DG RTD. And what you see is that, I don't know if you can easily see it, you have the procurement strategy, and you have the procurement procedure step. That is the brown, or what is it, the orange one. What we have seen is that if you're not able to understand a very good preparation, it leads to nothing. So you need to understand what you want. You need to understand what you want, if the market can offer something like this or not. You also need to understand what is happening on the marketplace. That's why you need to have a SOTA analysis. You need to have an interaction with the market before you go to actual procurement. And once you have done all these kind of aspects, you also need to understand if there is a real business case. And of course, you can have a fantastic idea, but if the solution that you would like to tackle costs you, I don't know, 1 billion euro, and you only know that you have a budget of 1 million euro, there's a little bit of discrepancy there. So the business case is also part of that preparatory phase of preparatory analysis. And once you have done all these kind of preparatory steps, you define your procurement strategy. So that's more from procurement and legal perspective. What kind of process procedure are you going to implement? What about the contracting strategy? And one of the advantages that we have to team up with the European Commission through the Rise in Europe program is that the European Commission has already thought about templates. They have thought about, perhaps it's easy to have this kind of templates for a PCP process. We have templates for the contracts and the standard clause. Of course, they need to be modified related to your actual situation, but an extreme lot of work has already been put into this by the European Commission services. And that's also one of the things that I always say to my colleagues and to partners. The great thing about working together in this kind of scheme is that we can learn and we can share knowledge and we can improve the process and the products and the results, not only for our own benefit, but for the benefit of all of our society. So once you have done these kind of procurement steps and you do the actual procurement, of course you need to manage, you need to monitor the contract. That's why you have different phases, etc. And there are always lessons learned what you can do. Here we're talking really about the preparatory phase and then specifically on the needs analysis, which will be discussed later today. I leave this out. You will have these sheets anyhow, so you can dive into that if you want that. Needs identification is really important. It always starts with an unmet need, because you want something that you cannot solve with the existing solutions that are on the market or the facilities or the technologies, whatever it is. And before you do that, there are different things that you need to tackle. Of course, Jozef will dive into that a little bit more, so I'm going to skip that. But for our projects, what we're talking about now, it's not only about the needs of an organization. It is about the end-user needs. So the end-user needs are vital to success or failure. It is not a legal party, so to say, or procurement party. It is about the end-user party. So the end users need to be involved in this kind of schemes and processes to ensure success. I'll leave it like that. I'm looking also at the time because I have to speed up a little bit. You have all kinds of methodologies that we used, and of course, one of the main points, if you talk about specifications, is the more detailed you have the specifications, the less there's room for innovation. We all know that, so that's why you need for functional or output-based specifications as such. There's another methodology that you can use is a functional analysis. I'm sorry for this. I'm really going through it quite quickly. One of the major pillars for this kind of preparatory phase for the identification phase and the needs analysis is to build up the right use case. And this is also what we're going to discuss today. How can I build up a good use case and a use case scenario? And Jozef will also have these examples from the different projects. If you're interested in this is about state of the art. Again, I will go quickly through it. I can say a lot of things, but then we end tomorrow. That's not the idea. Perhaps the business case is important because the business case is in the end needed to understand a measurable way to see if the solution is say that applying to your needs and your expectations. It's not only about costs, it's about the business case, like a total cost of ownership, of a life cycle cost approach, whatever it is. And you need to understand what kind of investment is needed before, during, and after the project. And it is indeed a living document. Already mentioned that defining innovation procurement strategy is more a result of all the preparatory steps that you have done. And what is even as crucial as the process itself is that you understand the impact that you would like to create. So a PCP just for the fun of PCP makes no sense. It's like innovation just for doing the fun of innovation. Nice to know, it's like a hobby, doesn't mean anything. The impacts of PCP, what do we want to create? We set up the PCP for the benefit, what we're saying about the actual end users and the procurers. So the PCP is the procurement of R&D services, and of course the underlying rationale is that it will be followed up by an actual procurement, so PPI. And that aspect is really important, and from a legal perspective it is important that you create technology vendors, you create a market that you, if you do an actual procurement as a follow-up, that you already are sure that there are competitors that are able to deliver these kind of solutions. That's why you do this kind of PCPs as such. What I was saying, you do the PCP to steer the development and to speed up the development. From policy perspective, it's also important that we can have, and I think that's one of the big advantages that we see in the European PCP. There's really a lot of competition. Jozef, you say a little bit about PCP-wise, about the outreach that has been created. But what you see as a rule is that if you do normal procurement, for example, in the Netherlands, you will see that you can receive proposals perhaps for 1 to 2% from other countries. In the PCP scheme, it's completely different. You see really European competition with more than 30% competition from other countries. So the data that we have show that is finally, I would say, there's a real competition on the European level, and we are really addressing the knowledge base of technology vendors in Europe. Okay, just takeaways, and then I stop with my part. The EFA methodology is quite easy to use. You stated you will find all the material on the website of the European Commission. You can download the material, the toolkits we have. You can look at recordings. You see fantastic examples of all kinds of PCPs in every sector. Of course, PCP is technology agnostic and sector agnostic. You can use it for health, security, first responder, defense, mobility, research, whatever it is. And a genuine need triggers innovation. And with that, I would like to conclude my presentation. So without a genuine need, there's no innovation. And that's why I make the bridge now to Jozef. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephan, for very informative, quite quick. I could sit here and listen for sure more, but we don't have time for that. My name is Jozef Kubinec. I come from Slovak Ministry of Interior, working there for more than 10 years on public procurement. And for the last 5 or 6 years, we take part also in innovation procurement projects. And in fact, it's very good that you mentioned AFI methodology, because maybe 6 years ago when I started this journey of innovation procurement, one of the first topics or materials that I find on innovation procurement, the PCP specifically, was the AFI methodology. So for you that would like to learn more about it, the AFI methodology, it's available online. There are quite easy modules to understand. What I would like to speak about is this concept of use case. And I will present you one of the use cases we have within the project PCP-wise. Stephan mentioned it. I'm very really glad that our Slovak Ministry of Interior took part in previous project that was Protect. It was in 2022, where we really built the base for now the PCP-wise. And in fact, the PCP-wise is first PCP that have been done in Slovakia. So the public buyer from Slovakia is a part of this project. So basically, what does it mean PCP-wise? You can see the definition that we give out, but I asked one of the technical partners. He's from Netherlands, and they have a lot of experience with managing water. Like, Hans, can you explain to me, because I'm a lawyer, I'm not a technician, I don't understand this water thing and everything, what I can imagine that we want to achieve by PCP-wise, what I can say to our end users. And he was saying that, imagine that nowadays we have a forecast on weather, and weather is very complex system, very hard to understand, but everybody understands the weather forecast, right? You know that, okay, in 2-3 days there will be rain if you are here in Brussels, in Slovakia, and maybe sun. But what we would like to achieve is having the same predictions for water saturation and soil saturation. And why is that? So, because we would like to know, we would like to predict if, for example, we know that for a long time the water, soil is too saturated, there is a higher risk of rapid floods. On the other side, if it is too dry for a long period of time, then there is a higher risk. If there are other conditions, then there will be first spark, and then we will have these wildfires. So basically, that's my explanation, that also I try to explain to our end users what does it mean and what we would really want to achieve in the end by PCP-wise. In PCP-wise, we have these 4 challenges. I'm going to focus on the fire today, but all of that comes together. Use case number 3, we have 5 use cases within the PCP-wise. Use case number 3, there are 3 main, let's say, end users organizations that take part in this use case. We have a Benego from Belgium, Netherlands. We have a Ministry of Environment in Slovakia, Slovak Environmental Agency, and then we have a Slovak Ministry of Interior. So what I'm going to now describe is basically the concept of a use case. So use case works something like you are describing the situation as it is, then you describe what steps you need to take to go to the wishful situation, so optimal state. And this is also illustration for you, because afterwards we will have this workshop exercise, and you will be actually writing the use case by yourself with the help of moderators. So this is basically description of a problem, of our need of a Slovak Ministry of Interior and the need of Slovak Environmental Agency and Benego from the Belgium and Netherlands. And this use case, the need is related to the wildfires, started in the forests and the fields with crops or grassland with low vegetation, which could start due to combination of different factors. Usually it's a drought, and then you have a first spark, let's say. This use case, so right now I'm basically describing the situation as it is, state as it is now. We address in this use case real challenges related to extreme local climate variability, including the periods of intensive rainfall, and on the other hand, the drought, and in specific region of Northwest and Central Europe. What is also important is that here we shared interest in building knowledge, not only in these specific countries, but cross-border. So that's related also to previous presentations also in the morning. These wildfires and these extreme events, they don't stop at the borders, right? So it's also important to have this water intelligence cross-border. And that's the situation as it is. Now, describing within the use case foreseen steps that need to be taken to move us from the situation as it is to the better situation, the wish situation. So within this use case, the primary objective is to support water management and enhance resilience to climate change through smart technologies. That's satellite data. So basically, the providers need to, we present this use case to the suppliers, to the providers, to the consortia. And they need to base their solutions on data from Copernicus. In the morning, somebody asked about the Copernicus, so this is the example of where the suppliers need to use the data from. What we would like to have as a steps to get to the optimal situation, continuous monitoring of various elements of a water cycle. So as I said, soil moisture, groundwater levels, surface level, and evapotranspiration. And goal is to anticipate and mitigate risk associated with rural drought. In addition to this day-to-day monitoring, we want to have, or the providers, they need to provide us also with the long-term historical data, if possible. Yes, and then there are the functions. We are still in the concept of describing the use case. Now the optimal situation. So the function of expected solutions, the desired outcome. We divided within this use case into main service. Main service is this continuous, as I said, but also historical monitoring of soil moisture and groundwater, alongside with development, and this is very important, of risk indicators for drought-related issues. So these risk indicators basically need to be developed, so the end users using the water intelligence that we create or the suppliers provide us within this PCP-WISE project, then can be taken into some viewer. So in the end, the end users, they don't need the data and they don't need the models. The end users need some clear visualization of the data. That's why we also ask the suppliers to provide us also with this user-friendly viewer, so the end users, the firefighters, crisis management unit, can basically see and predict on the easy screen if there is a higher risk using these risk indicators of a, let's say, drought, and then the wildfire. And now, basically what I said before, you can take and insert it, and you will do it also during the exercise, in these templates. And as I described, you have the as it is situation, so you basically describe the state as it is now, then you have 5 steps to each there, and then you have a wish situation. You can, and you will see also within your groups that you need to fill out also other templates, and here you can see some examples. So you can divide this use case also in different ways. For example, you describe who are the end users. You describe what are the main function of the technology or solution. You describe what is the input, so data, for example, from Copernicus, or on-site measurements. We expect the suppliers to combine this information because it's necessary. And then output. And then here you can see examples of functions. So basically you'd start from the need of the end users, probably unmet need, which means that this need cannot be addressed by existing technology. You describe the situation as it is in this use case, and then from that you take the function. So functional specification, and Stephan, you mentioned it, and then if you are able, then you add also the performance. So basically this is a thing that you need then for evaluation of the tenders. I'm not going into details now. What I would like to say, now I remember, and Stephan said it, to mention about the PCP-wise. I believe it is very successful project till far. We have 25 consortia, so not only suppliers. We have 25 consortia to bid for this PCP project. Consortia usually combine different competencies. You have integrators, you have engineers, not that much lawyers, but maybe also sometimes you need that. So I believe, obviously, these were these were the bids, right? And we need to evaluate. There was also a hard job. But having 25 consortia to bid for the tender, it's quite unusual. And I have experience from day-to-day procurement that this is not the situation. So I give you some ideas for you to think when you are going to build your own business cases right now, use cases. Thank you.
Yes?
Yeah, you have
some? I think that we can go to the icebreaker. Let me see. As such, the idea is that we're going to set us up in what I've understood, eight tables. So there are 10 numbers. So 9 and 10 are not relevant anymore. They can go home. No, just joking. And so we divide each other in the 8 tables. Per table, we're going to have a moderator. And the moderator is going to use Miro as a way to collect all the information. Once we have done that, around, 4, a little bit later, I think, anyhow, we have a coffee break, and then we have a presentation of the outcomes per working group. So the idea is that we have per table, so per working group, an idea about a use case that you think that you would like to tackle. For sure, when we see the general presentation, there will be an overlap of use cases. That's not so important. Most important is just that you have a sort of working experience, how to think about, how to develop, going from an idea, what is in need, what do you want to have to do, and to build in the end your use case as such. As remember, and what I've said, that is just one of the first steps, is a vital step. Understand what you want, what you need, but then you need to do all the other steps. There will be other working groups, not for now. How do you want to proceed on this, Yannis? That we...
Let's invite the moderators to the front.
Yeah, okay.
And then we split it groups of 8 to 9 people.
Okay, that's good. So may I ask the moderators to join up here in front? So you can wave to them, you know who they are. Yes. Okay, for the online audience, we come back around 4:15 and do the general presentation, and then we can present the outcome. So I think that you can have a longer coffee break if you're online until 4:15. Let me see. I'm missing. We have 8.
I'm also moderator.
Yeah, you're also moderator. We need to have 8 moderators, so that's good.